Count on Local 3 News for more local stories.
Soddy Daisy is taking a step back in time this Saturday as Pioneer Day comes to Poe's Tavern Historical Park. Jacob Smith loves history, especially Soddy Daisy history, and he's back with us this morning. Great to see you.
Good seeing you, Miss Julie.
We were trying to figure out together how many years this has been, and I think we're not quite sure.
It's been too many to count at this point.
Too many to count.
That's a good thing.
What's so great about this, as I'm remembering it, Jacob, and you'll have to refresh my memory, but this was really the idea born of a few people who loved history. Steve Smith, you, some others. Bit by bit it's grown, and now so many people, those who live in Soddy, Daisy, Montlake area, and those who don't, come to learn more.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Like you said before, we've done it for so many years now, and we've evolved it over time to be more period correct as we can possibly get it. You know, with the apple press, making apple cider for the children, you know, they just love turning that big wheel. What child doesn't? Coal mining artifacts, quilt making, basket making, Civil War encampments, reenactments at that, you know, so it's going to be a good day.
We just got our answer by looking at your poster there. It's the 9th year.
Seems
like it's been more than that, but it's the 9th year for the event. You know, the time of the year too is so significant because for the kids, since you mentioned, this is when they're learning in school about the Pilgrims and the first Thanksgiving, and then of course the move west when those pioneer days.
That's
and
exactly right.
Tennessee was kind of part of that moving west movement a little bit.
That's exactly right, you know, and it really is a joy for the kids to come and experience that firsthand. You know, they learn about it in school, but they've never touched an apple press or a corn sheller and, you know, fed the cracked corn to the chickens, you know, so it's an experience that very few children get to get, so we're pleased to give it to them.
So you do make it a day of fun, not just a day of coming to learn. So if it's a whole family event, the kids will get to see some things. Parents, grandparents who might be history buffs, will they have a chance to kind of wander and take in some artifacts and things that y'all have?
Yes, ma'am. We're going to have coal mining artifacts on display. There will be a display of the Soddy rifles. They're very, very long rifles, kind of a little bit hard to describe, but they're unique in their own way, and we're designed in the Soddy community. So, you know, those will be on display. We can't forget the cooking in the cabins. We're going to have dessert served over the fire. So
you are.
It's going to. I'm excited about that.
What is okay, I want to go back though to the Soddy rifle.
That's right.
What's the significance of that? Why would they have designed a rifle there in Soddy?
Well, there was a lot of blacksmiths back in the day, or gunsmiths at that designed turkey shooting rifles. They're not necessarily hunting rifles. They were more show than anything. The butt plate had a real nice arch in the back of it, and the museum has one in its personal collection, but there'll be several more on display, one of which is almost 8 feet long.
8 feet long?
Yes, ma'am.
That was some turkey.
That's right, that's right.
Okay, to the cooking in the cabin, the desserts in the cabin, that's kind of probably the image that we've got behind you there.
Yes, Ms. Poe there.
So what are you serving?
So previous years we have made apple cobbler, peach cobbler, and I think this year it might be mixed berry. So I'm going to have to get with Miss Kim there to really see.
It makes you really realize, because that would have been what time period?
Late 1800s.
Late 1800s.
All through the 1800s, early 1900s.
Okay, so let's go with that. Late 1800s to early 1900s. When you look at the scope of history, that's not that long ago.
Right.
And yet look at how much life has changed for the way we live versus how they live.
That's very true. That's very true. It goes from cooking over the fireplace to, you know, the things that we have today. So it's a good experience. It's humbling, to say the least.
It is humbling. That's a really good way to put it. I think it's also interesting because the Soddy Daisy community has seen an explosion in the last 10, 15 years of new homes coming in and people choosing to move out there. The scenery is so pretty. Newcomers to town. So for them to hear you talk about the Soddy rifle, not the Soddy Daisy rifle, there are 3 distinct communities: Soddy, Daisy, Montlake.
That's right. That's right. Yes, 100%. The Soddy actually predates Chattanooga by 17 years, so it was a little bit of a hustling, bustling coal mining community while this was still Native American territory. So, you know, that Soddy particular, Daisy was a coal mining community as well, known for its potteries, and then Montlake, a coal mining community on top of the mountain. So, you know, everybody was proud from what part
they were from. So you mentioned the pottery. Are y'all going to have arts and crafts there as well?
That is a good question. That is a good question. I could bring a few of my Daisy tile for the children to, you know, paint on. So we might be able to make that
Daisy
happen.
tile, what is that?
So Daisy was known as the pottery capital of the world. They dug clay. Daisy had rich clay deposits, and some of which will be on display Saturday. But they made roofing tile, floor tile, really anything you can imagine out of pottery, and it was that deep quarry red color. It's beautiful.
Pretty, but you can't get that anymore.
If you know where you're going, yes,
You
ma'am,
can get it. Okay, you mentioned something to me before we got on air about basket weaving.
That's right. There will be a basket weaver on site. She has had in the past baskets for sale, so there's a good possibility.
I do want to ask you this too. It might not be in your wheelhouse, but I'll give it a whirl because this is a great time of year to get outdoors. So when you mentioned Montlake on the mountain and that kind of thing, there are great trails to hike in the Soddy Daisy area.
Yes, ma'am.
If you were to go wandering, will you come across any of these old coal mines or anything? How do you find them?
That's a very good question. Yes, ma'am. Several of which are along the Cumberland Trail, you know, both in the Montlake area, Daisy area, and Soddy area. You can get to it by going up Big Soddy Gulf or up Montlake Road. But yes, ma'am, several of the coal mines are still open. Artifacts can be found along the way, which are all protected by the state. So thank goodness that's in place.
You did a little bit of name dropping that's relevant for you to finish up, because I didn't know the story, but I looked at my notes here. Miss Kim, as you referenced her, she has a genealogical tie-in to Poe's Tavern.
So that is exactly right. The event's going to be held at Poe's Tavern, which is a replica of Hamilton County's first county seat per se. It's not necessarily the courthouse, but all the court documents were held at Poe's Tavern in Daisy, Tennessee in 1819. Just a few short years before it got moved to Harrison. But yes, ma'am, she is a descendant of the Poes, and so it's wonderful to have her there.
It will be interesting to see what your kids' takeaway is going to be when you bring them on Saturday, because they probably all are going to show up having been on the phone in the car. Yet when they get there, the phone's going to go away. They get to make a corn shuck doll, right?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Pam is going to be able to do that. Yes, I've never even seen one of those, so I'm looking forward to possibly doing it myself.
They also have a cute little train courtesy of the Baptist Church up there, a Trinity train. Is that right?
The
Taking them
Trinity
on
train
rides?
from Oak Street Baptist Church. The gentleman that put that together will give children the experience of what going to a depot would have been like.
Well, then you have to go and take a step back in time. Let football wait for just a little while.
That's right.
And go to Pioneer Day. It only happens one day a year at Poe's Tavern Historical Park. You too can learn the rich history that is there in Soddy, Daisy, Montlake, and that whole area. You can always learn more too about what they do with the museum at soddydaisymuseum.org. You're a good teacher, Jacob Smith.
We'll give it our best shot.
Thank you so much. And hey, listen, if you're a realtor, listen up. There's an event just for you coming to Camp Jordan in just a couple of weeks. We'll tell you more about that when we come back. Plus, Clay Smith has your forecast. Halloween, he says, is looking good.
A simple step can lead to unexpected consequences. Navigating the aftermath of a slip or fall isn't straightforward. If you've been injured on someone else's property,